Hello there everybody, welcome back to Star Wars Lads, and I've got a review for you all today for Solo Command. It's one of the newest books in the Essential Legends collection reprints. It's the 7th book of the X-Wing series and the 3rd and final book of the original Wraith Squadron trilogy. I'm going to be giving you my spoiler-free thoughts on this book, specifically from the lens of the new audiobook, which was just dropped today if you're watching this video on Tuesday, November 5th. The Essential Legends collection reprint of this novel has coincided with a new unabridged audiobook, and you can check it out, narrated by Mark Thompson from Penguin Random House Audio. They were kind enough to send me a review copy, so I got a chance to listen to it early, and I'm going to be giving you guys my thoughts on the production of not just the audiobook, but also, of course, the novel itself and the story. Before I get into the review, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel for more content just like this. All right, so as always, we start off these book reviews with a review of the novel's plot, as well as the writing. And I'm also going to be covering here Mark Thompson's narration and the production design around the audiobook release as well. So when we look at the plot of this book, it is similarly structured to the previous two novels. Aaron Allston's writing is quick, fast-paced, really entertaining. He has a great grasp on these characters, and he has a great grasp on what makes a strong military novel. One of the things I've certainly noticed between Allston's work and Stackpole's work, who preceded him, is that Stackpole has a great grasp of his leads, but Allston does a great job of giving you a full ensemble, and this book still remains that. There are characters and specific standouts that we'll talk about in the character section, but overall, this is another fantastic ensemble story. Almost every character gets their due, and a lot of the great page time is dedicated to just living small moments with these characters. Allston is great at giving small moments to characters that really end up paying off in the bigger moments. But if you're a fan of the dogfighting action, don't worry, because there's a lot of great X-Wing and dogfighting action here, and some stuff with capital ships, as this is the final showdown between Warlord Zsinj's forces and, of course, Han Solo's forces, who became a much bigger character in Iron Fist. Now here in this titled Solo Command book, we get a lot more Han Solo. Solo Command isn't the longest of the Wraith Squadron trilogy. That still goes to the first book, Wraith Squadron, but it is the second longest. It's a little bit longer than Iron Fist was, and with that, there is a bit more plotting here. Iron Fist was very straightforward. It was mostly action, a lot of exciting set pieces, and a lot of really tense moments. You really go in depth on the major plot surrounding Warlord Zsinj, what his ultimate goals are, and here you of course get the resolution to all of those plot points set up in Iron Fist. There's a lot of positioning characters into important character beats. There's, as always, the maniacal planning of Warlord Zsinj, some good connections to the rest of what was going on in the timeline in Star Wars Legends, and all of that is tied together with certain epic battles that do take place, and those battles do have consequences once again. It seems like Allston knew kind of what we were expecting from the formula. He starts in the first two, and here he really starts to play with our expectations, and I did really appreciate that in pivotal moments of this story. The production design, once again, around the audiobook is phenomenal. Penguin Random House does an incredible job with their audiobooks, and even for stories that might not necessarily always be A+, they make A+ audiobooks. And once again, Mark Thompson, of course, the king, the GOAT, some would say, of Star Wars book narration, is fantastic here. To me, his narration is so top-notch that it will be hard for me to ever go back to reading the story in my own voice. I'll constantly be hearing the tones and the accents he gives each character. This, to me, was another home run. Let's move on to the characters of this story, and of course, this is a Wraith Squadron book. This is an Aaron Allston book. It's an ensemble story. And what I mean by that is every character, for the most part, gets their time to shine. I talked about in my Iron Fist review how that book tends to gravitate towards characters who were secondary in Wraith Squadron and pull them to the forefront. Solo Command continues mostly with those Iron Fist characters. It doesn't necessarily bring characters like Tyria Sarkin or Keltainer back to the lead roles like they were in Wraith Squadron. Looking across the trilogy, that is slightly disappointing. When you read Wraith Squadron, especially because it is the heftiest of these three books, you really do get invested into Keltainer, even if he is a bit more of a one-note, strong, tough guy. He does have an interesting backstory. His reasoning for joining the Wraiths is pretty interesting, and it does play a major role in a pretty good arc throughout that book. And the relationship between him and Tyria seems like it's going to be the Mirax-Corrin relationship of this series. While that's still there, it certainly isn't the one that Allston seems most compelled to write about. Once again, of course, this is an X-Wing series book, so Wedge Antilles takes center stage. You also have Han Solo now with the title Solo Command, taking a much bigger role in the story and actually getting quite a bit of POV. And then just like Iron Fist, Face Loran is a huge standout in this book. I would say Iron Fist is still my favorite Face book, but he is so good here, and he still is one of my favorite X-Wing pilots of all time. Characters who had bigger roles in Iron Fist, like Runt or Shala, they're not as prominent here, especially with Runt. I love the way Allston used Runt in Iron Fist. Piggy is a character who gets a lot of play in the first act of the book, not as much in the latter half, although he is a little more important here than he was in Iron Fist, and I still do appreciate having a Gamorrean as a part of this crew. Dia Pasic is another character who doesn't get as much time to shine, but there is a subplot revolving around Twi'leks and the relationship between Twi'leks and non-human species and the New Republic. And Dia does have some good moments, especially with her romance with Face Loran. There's also a new member of Wraith Squadron in this novel. It's a Devaronian character called Elisar Targan, who is mostly played for laughs and does have a lot of really funny moments. And just as Iron Fist really elevated Face, Ton Fanon, and Runt, this book is all Gara Petithil or Lara Notsil and Mim Donos. They are kind of the heart and soul of the story around this book. Mim has been that kind of ticking time bomb throughout the entire trilogy, especially when they introduce the character of Lara Notsil in the second book, when the revelations around Gara Petithil are unfolding in the plot of Iron Fist. You're waiting for those revelations to be brought to the forefront for characters like Mim, especially with the direction Mim's character goes on a personal level. And we of course have to talk about Warlord Zsinj, and he is still really good in this book. Zsinj has been an interesting villain throughout the trilogy, and he still is a pretty compelling one here. He never gets to Isard levels of intimidating for me, but I do appreciate the way he was taken and created into this really different villain than most of what we see from traditional Imperials in Star Wars. So to wrap this up and give it a score out of 5, if I was talking specifically about the audiobook, I'll just say it's a 5 out of 5 for the audiobook. This is a great story, only enhanced by the audiobook. You should absolutely check out the audiobook for sure. But when we're just talking about the novel of Solo Command, the story, the characters, all the traditional stuff that I would give a score to for a Star Wars novel, I'm going to give this one a 4.25 out of 5. And all the hallmarks of the Wraith Squadron trilogy are all here. Fantastic characters, great ensemble, great action, and really dark, seedy villains. All of that's here, along with the flaws that are in every single character in this book. There's a lot of juicy writing here, and if you are interested in checking out more adventures in the X-Wing series and you haven't checked out the Wraith Squadron trilogy yet, I urge you to check them out. And if you want to check them out in audiobook format, it's a fantastic way to experience this trilogy. So thank you so much for watching this review. Stay tuned for the Force Unleashed review, and if you haven't checked them out, please check out my Iron Fist and Wraith Squadron reviews. We are planning on bringing you retroactive reviews for the first 4 X-Wing books, and we will be bringing back our Star Wars Legends book club via a live stream where we can all talk about all 4 of those books, and then eventually we will be giving you guys one for Wraith Squadron as well. And mark it on your calendars. When Essential Legends releases come out, we will try our best to give you reviews for all of the ones that do release, but specifically we will be focusing on the ones that are going to be getting new audiobooks. Thank you so much for watching this video. Check out all our other great content, and I will see you all next time.